Hello, I'm Jane Barrett at The Career Farm, and this is episode 120 of the Career Farm podcast, Grow Your Own Career. Hello, and welcome to this month's podcast. This month, I want to do something a bit different and talk about Bill Gates' new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. I remember reading his book, The Road Ahead, which he published in 1995, and that gave a really good insight into what might happen in the future in terms of technology. And in a similar way, I want to look at his new book and think about how does that give some insight into what opportunities there might be in terms of the future of work, not only in terms of innovative businesses, but also in terms of the type of work that might be available in the future. I think one of the key messages that comes out from this book is that blend of different disciplines, so chemistry, biology, political science, economics, physics, engineering, all of those, lots of different disciplines and how they might come together to help us fight climate change. So I want to delve into this book in a little bit more detail. There is a blog which is more detailed that will give you some more information on this. And so hopefully it'll give you some insight into what I learnt as a career coach and someone concerned about the future of work and how we might all play our part, whatever that is, in helping fight climate change. So we're going to look at some different areas. So to start off with, obviously, the climate change crisis. What is it? I will do that very quickly. And then the goal of reaching net zero emissions, some of the challenges there. The 5 current big emitters, and in terms of thinking about what opportunities there might be within those areas to innovate and to join companies who are tackling those areas. And then thinking about opportunities for career development, but also future work opportunities and innovation and entrepreneurship. So I think, it's really thinking about what skills you have and how you can play your part in tackling climate change. So to start off with the climate change crisis, so 51 billion is kind of that big figure out there, and that's the number of tons of greenhouse gases the world on average adds to the atmosphere every year. The connection between these gases and the rise in global temperatures increasingly has been known in recent times. With continued global warming, Bill Gates points out that there are key issues arising from this. So we're seeing an increased number of devastating storms, droughts, rising sea levels, increased wildfires. We've seen a lot of those over the last couple of years, vanishing coral reefs, and he anticipates that this extra heat will kill many more livestock from a young age, making the price of food likely to rise. So he argues that rich countries are the ones that will be able to achieve and develop innovative solutions. And this will be crucial in helping poorer countries, the ones that are disproportionately affected by the impact of climate change. So obviously there's a lot of talk about reaching net zero. And basically the premise of this is that current rate of emissions produced by humans is not sustainable for the planet. The issues aforementioned mean that we must strive to change our attitudes within our everyday lives. And we have to make significant changes if we need to have a goal of reaching net zero emissions. So obviously this is easier said than done. And nearly everywhere, standards of living are constantly rising. People have longer lifespans. People are wanting more goods, such as cars, buildings, roads. All of these require emissions to be able to meet these demands. So Gates talks about that we need to consider this significant rise in population as the world is heading towards a total of 10 billion people by the end of the century. This is negative for the climate that we live in, as global energy demand will go up by 50% by 2050. A significant problem that needs to be reviewed as soon as possible. This means that as we move towards reflecting on our actions, we need to incentivise countries to reach the goal of net zero emissions by 2050. And then the 5 current emitters that lead to the largest amount of emissions in the world. So these are areas that have real potential to make a difference. These are areas that really need to be reduced. And to tackle each one, we need to distinguish where they're used in our daily lives so we can try and change the way that we use them. So how much greenhouse gases is emitted by the things that we do? So how we make things, so cement, steel, plastic, is 31% of that 51 billion tonnes. Plugging in, so electricity, is 27% of that 51 billion tonnes. How we grow things, so plants and animals, that's 19% of the 51 billion tonnes. And then how we get around, so planes, trucks, cargo ships, that's 16% of the 51 billion tonnes. And then how we keep cool and stay warm, so heating, cooling, refrigeration, that's 7% of the 51 billion tonnes. So those are the 5 major sources of greenhouse gas emissions that basically show that the problems that we face are pretty complex. We do have some tools at hand that can be used immediately to reduce these emissions, and that we don't have all the tools that we require. So that means that we need to do a lot of inventing to tackle this problem. And innovation requires willing entrepreneurs to take on the task of solving the world's problems so we don't compromise the future of the planet. So we need this innovation, and Bill Gates talks a lot about the extra cost of implementing these clean alternatives, and that's called the green premium. And this holds us back from investing in reaching green alternatives for energy and material consumption. Gates believes that our current goal should be to deploy low green premiums, alternatives, or no premium at all, so that the cost will not prevent us from reaching the goal of saving the planet. So to achieve this dream of providing low-cost clean energy, we need to invest in R&D, and this will make these products more affordable, and then we can export them to places that can't afford the current premiums, which restricts the capacity for clean expansions. And although there are current solutions proposed to target the emissions, such as direct air capture, we can't rely on this to provide a long-term solution to save the planet. So certainly, Bill Gates is shining a light on this new emerging market for entrepreneurs to try and tackle the climate change issue. So in terms of opportunities, there are definitely new pathways emerging, exciting opportunities out there, and you can see that there are multiple investment in innovation in this area. So, for example, you can see he gives the example of the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research has proven to be a leading research group to tackle the need for nourishing the world in a more sustainable manner. Among its aims is to reduce poverty and hunger, improve human health and nutrition, and enhance ecosystem resilience through high-quality international agricultural research. And it has achieved this by creating new climate-adaptable crops and livestock that can be utilised by the world's poorest farmers. These groups show their opportunities within the sustainable market. So he cites some research here that Globe Newswire estimated that the global green technology and sustainability market size would grow from around $11.2 billion in 2020 to $36.6 billion by 2025. So you can see that there is they're pointing to a huge potential in this market for employment opportunities and innovation. So I think the main thing that I took from this book is that there are many opportunities for you to think about how can you deploy your skills, your creative approaches to solving climate change. And I think this is really key to think about how, certainly I'm thinking about how can I help using the experience that I have and the background that I have to help people see opportunities in the future. And that's really the drive of my work moving forward with this podcast as well, is to shine a light on people like Seagrown, for example, if you remember, that was a couple of podcasts ago, who are innovating in this area and growing sea kelp off the coast of the UK. In Scarborough, I actually went to see Wave on Monday and had a chat with him about how the business was going, and it's going very well. It's very exciting, and they were actually in the Times recently as one of the most innovative companies to watch. So I think there is lots of opportunity in this area to think about how you can make a difference and what innovations going on in this area, and look at these companies and what they're doing, whether you want to join them or set up your own type of business. So I will link to the blog in the show notes from today, so you can read a little bit more about what I found from this book. But I hope that gives you a kind of summary of kind of the main points, why this is an issue, and help you think about where there might be opportunity for you in the future, how this relates to the future of work. So thank you very much for listening. Do tune in next month. We're going to move back to our format of webinars for next month. I'm having Janie Van Hool talk about her new book about the importance of listening and how it really is a superpower. And I think that's definitely a key skill for the future is listening. And so I'm really excited to talk to her about her book. And do join us because you can ask her questions as well. She's a fantastic speaker. So I'm really excited to have her on the podcast. Okay, I hope that was useful and I look forward to talking to Janie next month. Have a great month. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.